Welcome one and all to Friday at the Damage Report with me, John Adorola, and Brett Erlich, host of the Happy Half Hour, often on Game Busters and a variety of other things. Thank you for joining me.
I'm happy to be here. I'm totally ready for today.
Yeah, you weren't
I
just
read
eating
all the email last
ago.
night, and I'm not quite sure what from your email last night made it onto the show today. But I have been following the news for many years, John, so don't second guess my ability to effectively analyze it on the spot.
You don't need to know exactly what made it from the email to the rundown because you've had the rundown document for hours. And so what would you say is your third favorite topic on the rundown today?
You and your attitude.
Oh, I'm the one with the attitude. Anyway, you know what my attitude is today? Good. It's a good. You remember like 2 months ago, we had like 3 weeks of good news where everything was good and like good things were happening. This is a good week. It's not a perfect week. It's a good week though, isn't it?
This morning on the unbossed pitch meeting, I was like, these are all amazing stories. And I had a good frame of reference for them because many of them were included in your email from the previous night. So I spoke as though I was an expert, even though I'm just coasting on the back of y'all's hard work.
Awesome, that's the best way that it should work. But anyway, I am in a good mood. We've got some interesting news to get into, including this is potentially bad news for the other side of the aisle, but I am just getting so hyped for the big cinematic event of 2023. We get closer to it every day. It is Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis just tearing each other to shreds. And we have an early preview of that coming up in a little bit. We've got previews on how exactly Raphael Warnock is gonna try to take down Herschel Walker in the runoff. Bad news, at least temporarily, for those expecting their student debt to be canceled. Updates on the chaos in Twitter and garbage people. If you're watching the full show in the aftermath, we will be throwing away our garbage people of the week. And so I'm quite excited for that. Before we jump into our first topic though, I do wanna let you know, Mark Kelly has beaten Blake Masters according to some, not everyone has called it, but some have called it, and that is great news, both numerically, we need it. Also, Blake Masters is just ew. So that's great. Also, not as great. Lauren Boebert is up by about 1,000 votes right now. It's not done. We still have like 5% of the vote around to come in. But so far, it's good news for Lauren Boebert and for people who predicted on the show earlier this week that she would, in the end, win, whoever that might be.
And instantly kind of walked it back and qualified the hell out of it, if I remember correctly.
Well, I mean, people were
if I'm wrong, and it's possible I'm wrong.
First of all, I am often wrong, and I would love to be wrong here, but I'm just saying, I was looking at the numbers and everyone's really mad at me, but hey, what do you know? Do you wanna be told things that make you feel good, or do you wanna be told things that I think are the truth?
I'm gonna need a minute to answer that question, honestly.
All right, well, the correct answer was in the email last night, and apparently you missed it. Anyway, those are the updates electorally. Lots of races still to be determined, so get ready for that. Also, get ready for the news. And the best way to do that is by hitting the like button and sharing the stream so that people know we're live. And you can reach out to us with questions, comments, and concerns, and we'll respond as we go. But with all that said, Brett Erlich, are you ready to start? I just lost my video. Okay, we're back.
Oh, you did? Here's what happened, John. The camera had the computers that run the show had such trouble processing my majesty visually that it was overwhelmed.
Okay, we got a lot to talk about today. Let's jump into it. I'm ready to start the show, so we're gonna start the show, Your Majesty. Anyway, following the midterms that did not go well for the Republicans and popularly don't seem to have done well for Donald Trump, he assured us that media reports of his emotional outbursts were not true, bleeding. For those many people that are being fed the fake narrative from the corrupt media that I am angry about the midterms, don't believe it. I am not angry at all. I am a stable genius. And about that, day goes by and I think he might actually be mad. He went on a Truth Social rampage against reality, but he focused his ire against Ron DeSantis and some of the other people who might run against him. We're gonna dive into a little bit of what he had to say here. He's mad at News Corp, Fox, the Wall Street Journal, New York Post, They're all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious. He is actually running with that. They're gonna keep going with the DeSanctimonious. An average Republican, it's capitalized. Why is Republican capitalized? Governor with great public relations who didn't have to close up his state, but did, unlike other Republican governors whose overall numbers for a Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who has the advantage of sunshine, which, as we all know, cures COVID, where people from badly run states up Capitol and North would go no matter who the governor was, just like I did. Okay, there's more that we're gonna get to, but okay, so he knows that the right likes DeSantis on COVID more than Trump because Donald Trump encouraged people to get vaccinated. It was like the one responsible thing he did, and Ron DeSantis is against saving everybody's life. And so he tries to turn that around and say he closed down what he didn't need to. He's gonna try to win that battle. People's impressions of how Florida did it in the pandemic, that's baked in for a year and a half now. That seems like a losing battle to me. Also, their perceptions are totally off base. They lost like 75,000 people needlessly, including a member of my family. He absolutely sucked when it came to COVID, but they've decided that he didn't. Saying that he closed down more than he should have, saying that they just have the advantage of sunshine, which I really do think, is he trying to bring that out as a solution to COVID again? It's totally in the, he says, including COVID and who has the advantage of sunshine. Is he talking there about turnout then? Brett, what do you think? Look, let's just be clear before we move into more specifics. This is the start of a very long rant, all of it about how Ron DeSantis sucks. So they were like, he was tiptoeing around this a week or two ago. We're way past that. Now it is all out, knives out for Ron DeSantis.
Yeah, and as the knives are coming out for Donald Trump, essentially this is, I just want to know what act they stab Caesar in, because everybody's like pulling out a poniard. And they're like, all right, is it okay now? You see people like Ben Shapiro be like, I hope that the Republicans come to their senses. And various other people like Ted Cruz saying, when Republicans run as straight up conservatives and govern as conservatives, then we win. Everybody's just kind of looking around the room, wondering if they have to come for the guy in charge. When he says sunshine, I think he's just talking about a lot of people like Florida because it's sunny, and B, when it comes to COVID, you can go outside and not be inside. A lot of the experiences are outside as opposed to places that actually incur the devastation of a winter where everybody has to be inside together, passing germs back and forth.
Yeah, you might be right there. It is amazing that he is gonna stick with Ron DeSanctimonious. I mean, he must have seen people mocking that nickname over the past. We came up on the show with like 8 better ones. I'm sure, Brett, you could spit out a better one right now. Someone was like, rip off Ron. That's 10 times better than Ron DeSanctimonious.
Ron DePantpish.
There you go. DeSatan, I think, would play very well to the QAnon people. Like, I don't get it. But he is going all out. In any event, I want to turn to another angle on this. Donald Trump wants to take down Ron DeSantis, and he's going to attack him. He's going to mock him. He's going to do all of those things. But in addition to that, he's got some very weird. It's not even really a conspiracy theory. I think it's simpler than that. It's just a bizarre lie that might actually open him up to yet another investigation by the DOJ. So it starts off with him trying to insult how Ron DeSantis came to become governor in the first place, saying, Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017, politically dead, losing in a landslide. He had low approval, bad polls, no money, but said that if I would capital E endorse him, he could win. I said, let's give it a shot. When I endorsed him, I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart. I was all in for Ron, and he beat Gillum. But after the race, that's capitalized, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the US attorneys, and the ballot theft ended immediately, just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen. So he has been claiming credit for Ron DeSantis for a very long time, which sure, maybe on election night, you say that it was your, like, you get the credit for it, but Every month that goes by when you continue to claim credit for someone who is popular in their own right, you just look more and more pathetic. Nobody cares 2 years later whether you're responsible. They like him. But beyond that, he sent in the FBI and US attorneys to stop the election from being stolen. So far as anyone can tell, that didn't happen. That's not actually based on anything. Unless it did happen and we didn't know about it, in which case, well, that needs to be looked into. What is that about? Or is this just a thing that he wanted to do, but he got stopped from doing because what are you talking about? You can't do that. Most people, I think, reasonably are just gonna gloss over that and move on with the rest of the insane stuff. But that seems significant, Brett, this claim. That almost certainly is just a lie.
I know you're mad, but did you just say you crimed? It seems like you just said you crimed. You're like, I stopped them from counting votes, because every time Donald Trump says that there was some irregularity in voting, the courts say, no, there wasn't. And if he actually was able to stop votes from being counted in the process of getting DeSantis elected the first time, then he is the one committing voter fraud, as anyone who would glance at this would see. But I'm not quite sure how much of these truths people are actually reading.
Yeah.
And that's the big question. Like, as you hit on, like, is Trump going to be effective in his attacks the way he had been in the past? Or are people done with the clown show? Are people who watched Trump on stage with 16 garden variety politicians in 2015 and were refreshed by that, refreshed by him attacking people like and exposing the weird speech patterns of politicians who equivocate? That was cool for them in 2015. But now, is it just that Kevin was only talking about the food in the vending machine, like in the office, instead of being like this brilliant genius? Like, is Grandpa just rambling in very ineffective and now, rather than defiant, just sad ways?
Yeah, maybe. I don't. There is a lot more ramble to come. I will say on the sending the FBI, I want him to just bleat that he was exaggerating, because I don't want any more investigations. I've got enough. I don't want to have to track any more of this. I'm good at this point. Anyway, finally he goes on to say, and now Ron DeSanctimonious, multiple times in one rant, is playing games. The fake news asked him if he's going to run if President Trump runs, which is how people talk about themselves in the third person. And he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race. I'm not looking to the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. So he doesn't want him to run. I don't think that he wanted to start this early. I don't think he wanted to do it before he announced. I think he would have preferred to wait a few months. I mean, he definitely seemed hesitant up until now. This is an emotional reaction to the midterms. And that matters from his point of view, because this is not Trump coming with his best stuff. This is not like, if you are a strong DeSantis supporter who might like Trump, might have sort of split loyalties, there are ways you could peel that person away from DeSantis. How is this gonna do it? Just claiming credit and calling him DeSanctimonious? That is not gonna win over those people. So you get the negative credit of being seen to be the bad guy who's starting a fight and not unifying, but you don't get the good side of that, which is actually maybe winning over some voters. That's my perception. But I want to throw into the conversation that DeSantis, I almost called him DeSanctimonious. DeSantis is not maybe it is effective. DeSantis is not the only potential competitor he decided to bleed about. He sent this out, and this is an amazing message. Young Kin, now that's an interesting take. Sounds Chinese, doesn't it? In Virginia, couldn't have won without me. I endorsed him, did a very big Trump rally for him, telephonically got MAGA to vote for him, or he doesn't have a chance of winning. But he knows that and admits it, besides having a hard time with the Dems in Virginia, but he'll get it done. So he sucks, could never win, if not for me, if not for my telephonically. And he calls him Young Kin instead of Youngkin, and then tries to tie him to the, so like he enjoyed the Coco Chow thing so much that he wants to do anti-Asian slurs. but it's not an Asian person. He's not gonna let that stop him. It's a white guy. I'm still gonna do the anti-Asian stuff because that's more fun. It's just so bizarre, Brad.
Couple things. First, when a comedian like starts being known about and starts their like rise, they finally are making it.
Yeah.
They have worked years and years honing a craft that then it pays off finally. And that was Trump for the last 3.5 years. It paid off for, I guess, 5 years, 6 years. But now he's at that point in the comedian's like arc where he thinks everything he comes up with is funny. He hasn't had to try anymore. He doesn't have to prove himself in front of an audience anymore. He doesn't have to keep earning it. And now he's just going with the literal first idea that pops into his head because he thinks he's that smart. With Youngkin, that's not a threat. That's not ever gonna be a threat. Larry Hogan, probably not a threat. These kind of governors in purple-ish states, that's not gonna be a threat. Ron DeSantis is the only threat to him, so that's the only one it seems that he workshopped, and even then, it fell flat on his face. I think that's the main thing. But when you're talking about Youngkin and DeSantis as people that you endorsed, and then they turned their back on you and won, they tooted and booted on you. Like they used you for the equivalent of political sex, and then pushed you out the door. That doesn't make you seem awesome.
Yeah.
That makes them seem like conventionally 90s frat boy cool, which I really think is the barometer for popularity in the Republican Party.
That's true. Yeah. Particularly for DeSantis, who apparently did see himself that way back in the day. Yeah. By the way, let me run another possibility behind you, or by you, behind you. What the hell's wrong with me? Who's ready for Saturday? Me? How about this? Ron DeSadness. He'll make you sad, people. He'll make you sad. I think he could get that going. Just always about how he makes you sad.
That's it. But that's a better one, because when the way to unravel Ron DeSantis is to call him like a little twerp.
Yeah.
He's like this little twerp who's doing an impression of me. Like he does a crappy impression of Trump. He's a tactician. And here's all anyone really needs to understand about the next 2 years of Republican politics.
What?
Is that you don't need to be successful in the grand, like all of American voting apparatus to win a primary. And even hurt Trump can garner, even with everybody else united against him. My faith right now is that without, maybe he's gonna start losing it, but at this moment, he can still get enough people behind him to win a primary and then flop in the general election. No matter how, and then he's already given everybody's already given him enough stuff to put in their ads, such as the video ad of Ron DeSantis putting his kid to bed as DeSantis is reading the kid a bedtime story that's The Art of the Deal by Trump.
Yeah,
they all fell on their knees for him. He needs to remind them of that. They all love me. These guys all don't say they love me and turn their back on me to win. That you just called them a winner. Say they love me. They got on their knees for me, and I have to remind everybody they are really nothing without me.
Yeah. Let's be clear. On the knees to pray. Nothing else. Nothing else. Anyway, we're not the only ones who've noticed him freaking out, waking up in the middle of the night to start bleeding. Anyway, let's jump into the first of these videos.
What's different about this from other fights that he's picked? When he does something like this and he attacks Liz Cheney, then MAGA world goes, yeah, right, go get her, right? Ron DeSantis, MAGA world loves Ron DeSantis. I've got friends in Florida who are non-political family, and they're torn by this because they love their governor, but they love Donald Trump. And so when they see Trump going after DeSantis, they're like, what is he doing? Why is he going after him? And it's like watching your parents fight. And so going after him preemptively in this way is very counterproductive, and it makes Trump look desperate, and it makes Trump look weak.
I think that is very much the case, and it takes Mark Thiessen, I guess, on Fox to be willing to say that to a Fox audience. But the hosts are starting to be more critical. We showed you Laura Ingraham yesterday. Mark Thiessen, since the midterms, has been bringing up how this might not be the best call for Trump, and it isn't looking good. To be fair, though, there are still some on the Republican side who are defending him. We had Marjorie Greene, who is defending Trump. There's a very few that are openly declaring that everyone needs to still get behind Trump. And one is someone who might end up competing with Marjorie Greene for a position in a future Trump administration. Take a look at this.
And so they slow roll the results. Ron DeSantis goes out, gives his big speech, and then they want to make it look like the Trump Republicans don't have a chance. We do. We're going to win. I'm 100% sure of that. I think that Blake may even win with the look of what is left to be counted.
Yeah.
These votes are going to go Blake's way as well.
Okay, so look, the top level of this is they're trying to make us think Trump can't win. So she's trying to reassure them. No, I think Trump and Trump candidates can, even though all of the evidence shows that they would have been way better off if they'd gone for regular Republicans. But she also there says Ron DeSantis gives his speech, making it look like Trump Republicans can't win. So she's implicitly telling the audience, DeSantis is not a Trump Republican, even though to I think a lot of regular MAGA people, they would seem to be largely in agreement over the past few years. So she is helping to draw those battle lines and positioning herself as a loyalist and true defender of Donald Trump. At this point, is there anyone who's speaking up in support of Trump who doesn't want to be his VP, Brett?
That's a weird framing because everyone who speaks up for anything wants something.
Okay.
So they all want, is there anyone speaking up like Thiessen? Like the more twerps like Thiessen that go on Fox News and say Donald Trump is a loser, the better it is for Trump.
Well, hold on. Do you disagree with his read of how these attacks are going to be received?
I disagree with his read of how these attacks are going to be received. Yes, I don't
you think
disagree
these
with
attacks
his
against
overall
DeSantis will be
analysis that it's pathetic. But I disagree with how they're going to be perceived because there's a lot of battle to be done. And if you put Trump on stage next to DeSantis, there is only one variable we need to know more about is will Trump be Trump or will Trump be like a sad defeated Trump and flail? And there will be a moment and the odds are, DeSantis is gonna say life is long, bro, and I'll just sit this one out if he can. I mean, he is one of the smartest tacticians to pick culture wars based on traditional values to pick off Latinos in specific kinds of Latinos in Florida. Like that is exactly his tact to be that person who is like, Catholics come this way. And he's done it very slowly and very specifically, and he will put that exact amount of care into deciding whether or not to go with a run in 2024. But he's doing everything right, and Trump's doing everything wrong right now. But this is in the wake of an election. This is before the people in Fox who tried this before, by the way. What they're saying now on Fox is the exact same thing they said in 2015 when Trump was running. He's not good. Please go with these other guys. But that message is still the same, and it's still one that got rejected by base voters on the Trump side. And that argument is, hey guys, go with the establishment. Don't go with an outsider.
Yeah, and that's the position they're taking up right now. Look, I agree with you. I think that he is going to need to go on the offensive, obviously, and I still think that it will be successful. So I'm not criticizing him for attacking DeSantis as like in general being a bad idea. It's just this is not the way to do that. This seems pathetic and emotional and needy and weak. He's got to come stronger than that. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna take our first break. We come back, we're gonna check in on a few other races, including the upcoming Senate runoff in Georgia, and then give you perhaps the biggest policy, domestic policy related update having to do with student loan debt. All that and more after this.
They have treated him like crap. His family, stand by Herschel tonight. If you can give. If you know somebody that can give, ask them to do it.
Man, I know a lot of people are really invested in what happens in this Senate runoff. I mean, the fate of the Senate could be on the line, but like, pull yourself together, man. You're on TV, Lindsey Graham. You're gonna break down crying because people have been mean to Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker has held guns to people's heads. We're being comparatively quite polite to him, by the way. And we should be, because if we're not, he might hold a gun to our heads. So anyway, look, everybody's weighing in. You've got Lindsey Graham losing it right there. We also want to check in on Herschel Walker. How is he perhaps changing his messaging in regards to Warnock as we move towards the runoff? Take a look at this.
America, the biggest problem with them is racism. Why don't he get out of racism and learn redemption, learn forgiveness, learn to move on, and let's make this country better together. We can't divide this country. We got to come together, and that's how we make it better.
Okay, so it's convenient, opportunistic. Why don't they all just allow people to move on? Which is a great, I think, thing to focus on when you have a new devastating scandal coming out literally every week, and then attack the guy for not unifying, not allowing us to all just get along when you and your campaign are referring to this literal reverend as an actual Satanist. So a little bit of a weird focus there, but Brett, what do you think so far?
I love Lindsey Graham, AKA Clammy Faye Baker. I just want you to give some money because this is hurting me. I can't go on. So just please find the phone number and call it to give us cash so that I can pass a law that takes rights away from women to have control over their own bodies. These are the ones that want you to believe that they're the alphas in the room. Like, who was it? It was like Mondale or one of those people, Muskie. It was cold one day in 1970 something, and a leading candidate for president was outside in the cold and his eyes barely watered up. He lost his lead, he lost the election. Cut to today, because people in Georgia won't vote for a mentally defective, hypocritical, full-on paid for abortions Republican who is a threat to everything that people should hold dear. This guy's like, oh, I can't believe you turned your back on him.
It's just so embarrassing. I mean, do you think he's being honest? Like, is that an honest response?
No.
Because that would actually reflect well in him. I mean, it would make him look kind of pathetic, but at least like he's invested, he cares.
They're like calling, like there's Ted Cruz next to him. Come on. No one likes Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz is there just in case. They don't trust Herschel Walker. They don't trust him to not say something crazy. So they put minders next to him to make sure that he doesn't go too off the rails. That's why Ted Cruz is there.
Exactly, training heels.
Exactly. Anyway, is that in the wrestling sense? In any event, what is Raphael Warnock going to do? This runoff in Georgia's coming up fast, and we're getting an initial idea of what his campaign strategy will be. Hold on to your butts. Reverend Warnock, we're told by his campaign manager, will win the runoff by continuing the strategic investments in paid communication and field organizing, continuing to hold the diverse coalition that has driven Reverend Warnock's success, and emphasizing that this race is about who is able to represent our state. We are confident we will win on December 6th. Here is my issue with that. If you change the name, that could be applied to literally any campaign that has been run anywhere. Like, yeah, we're gonna have some ads and we're gonna try to hold together our coalition and make it about who should represent the area.
There's a difference between
campaigns are about. There's a difference what?
There's a difference between what you tell Sahil Kapoor from NBC and what you're doing.
Yes, that is true, but you also, I think people want to know that you're going to be vigorous. The complaint I think about Herschel Walker being this close is, Warnock really, I heard almost nothing from him. That doesn't mean that he wasn't, campaigning, but he wasn't breaking through. And so like coming into, we have a month now, your message is we're gonna run ads and we're gonna make it about who should represent us. Like, I want something bold. I want a big new policy to focus on. I want something. Let's give them a little bit more time. Before you respond, Fulks presented a two-pronged message. Okay, promoting his work with lawmakers in both parties, and attacking Herschel Walker as completely unqualified for a job that requires knowledge of the issues and an interest in listening and learning. That would at least be something, but so far Warnock really hasn't shown that he's willing to do that. Now, maybe this is an indication of a change in strategy, but I would rather actually see that rather than be told by you that at some point he's gonna begin to do that. What do you think?
You haven't seen Raphael Warnock on a national stage very much, and he's beating Herschel Walker from a percentage.
Yeah, a little. It's Herschel Walker. Is Herschel Walker literally the worst Senate candidate in 20 years? I think he probably is, and it was this.
It's Georgia. Like it took.
Well, he won by 2 points over an incumbent senator just 2 years ago.
In a time, and I think what they're going to do is start making the existential arguments, and this was on the heels of a Trump presidency in a presidential election year with Stacey Abrams focused 100% on that. Now she's going to pivot after having lost her governor's race to all the stuff she was doing, and they were very tactical. They were they're running a smart Georgia-centric race. I think they're going to go around Athens. They're going to go around college towns and say, hey, by the way, we just got told that we can't forgive your student debt. And if you put Herschel Walker in there, he's going to rubber stamp every initiative that would eliminate student debt.
Yeah.
And they're going to go
step by
step and do that. But like Stacey,
I agree.
Raphael Warnock, the reason that he's able to win is he does have a lot of the tailwinds that he had out of the first time he was elected have subsided. And a lot of the headwinds that didn't exist have picked up. A lot of the just general factors of it being an off year and there's an incumbent party in the White House and you're typically losing seats, all those kinds of things. But what he does have going for him is that Herschel Walker is the dumbest and worst. And there were people, I think, if you had ranked choice voting, you would probably have Senator Herschel Walker, let's be honest. But there were people that ended up voting in that runoff who would have stayed home if Kemp wasn't on the ticket. And yes, 200,000 fewer people voted for Walker than voted for Kemp, but there were probably 500,000 people who probably won't show up this next go around. And
I hope that you're right.
I hope so too. But Warnock's got to stay the course, and I think if you make too much out of a Quentin Folks comment like about what our true strategy is, who said, "Oh my God, did you hear what the campaign manager said yesterday?" Not a lot of people.
I was in a cafe and there were a bunch of hippie libs talking about it.
You should have said something about like
you're probably right.
Kellyanne Conway, but this is not the kind of person who's going to go on one of those shows and really push that hard. But this is Georgia politics. People who know Georgia are behind it, and we'll see. They did win 2 Senate seats last go around, and hopefully they'll have more focused money now than they had at their disposal previously. There's going to be an uptick. They're going to spend a lot, and hopefully they're going to win. And there's just not a lot of people enthusiastic about Herschel Walker.
I hope that you're right. I do know that Herschel Walker apparently raised $3.3 million in the first day. He's gonna have some money, unfortunately. But yeah, I hope you're right. I hope that Trump goes there and campaigns for him and makes him look even worse. I hope that Stacey Abrams gets to work. If I'm criticizing the campaign, it's not because I'm against Warnock. Warnock isn't Manchin or anything like that. It's just I really want him to beat Herschel Walker for about 1,000 different reasons. A Trump-appointed district judge, Mark Pittman, has struck down the student debt cancellation plan that Joe Biden advanced. Of course, this is not over. It's a step along the way. But as of right now, it has been struck a major blow. His ruling sided with a conservative advocacy group called the Job Creators Network Foundation, which had sued to stop the policy on behalf of 2 borrowers who were left out of the program or would not qualify for the full $20,000 of forgiveness. Judge Mark Pittman said, whether the program constitutes good public policy is not the role of this court to determine. Still, no one can plausibly deny that it is either one of the largest delegations of legislative power to the executive branch or one of the largest exercises of legislative power without congressional authority in the history of the United States. So Karine Jean-Pierre says that the White House obviously disagrees with this. They're going to appeal it, of course. She says the president and this administration are determined to help working and middle-class Americans get back on their feet, while our opponents, backed by extreme Republican special interests, sued to block millions of Americans from getting much needed relief. And they say, by the way, we're gonna be keeping the information that's already been submitted. By the way, the applications are down as of right now. That way, when it gets reinstated, you won't have to go through the process again. But I would add just a couple of points before we discuss this. One, take a look at not only how political this is, that this one judge can doom perhaps tens of millions of people to thousands of dollars of debt. Okay, we're moving past that. Look at the timing on it. Now, I know anything close to an election, you can make the case that it's political or whatever, but you're gonna strike down a massive policy like this a couple of days after the election. You couldn't have done that a week ago, or you wouldn't have done that a week ago, because that would make the Republicans look really bad and definitely would have motivated a lot of Democratic turnout. So no, you wait until a couple of days later and then oops, it's already over. Except as Brett pointed out earlier, well, you could make this a big topic in the Senate runoff. I'll also add, one of the plaintiffs, Myra Brown, owns a sign making business. I only mention that because we have Brett on, so she makes signs apparently. Was granted a $40,000 PPP loan, of which nearly all of it was forgiven. So got about $50,000 of debt cancellation already through other means. By comparison, the most you could get off of the student debt is $20,000. Now, she argues in her case that she's being harmed because she's not eligible for it. Her student loans were originally funded by private companies. Now, my final point, I don't think that that's actually why they're doing this. I think this is a partisan thing. They want to take it down. But if you take this plaintiff by her word, imagine you being frustrated that Biden couldn't cancel your private student loan debt. So you want tens of millions of people to suffer under hundreds of millions of dollars of debt. I don't think that that's honest. I think Myra Brown is lying. But if she's being honest, that is about as evil a stance as I can imagine. That you would wish that on everyone else, just because your private debt couldn't be canceled. But Brett, what do you think? I've thrown a lot of stuff out there.
It's also an argument against overreach, that it's too targeted for her.
Yeah.
Like he only, oh my gosh, this guy's crazy, drunk with power, only canceling certain types of student loan debt that are federal. And the guy who was the head of the executive branch of the federal government actually made that decision in a way that no one who was like, for years they've been researching this. And Biden decided that this was the time to do it. And now the Republic, I don't understand this. And I watched AOC go on Chris Wallace's show on HBO Max or whatever and do that interview. And he literally said, I can't wrap my mind around this concept. The Democrats are doing stuff for people. The Republicans' actual argument is don't do stuff for people right now. The Democrats can list off all the things, we bring down gas prices, prescription drugs, all these things. We're trying to put money in the pockets of young people, forgiving student loan debt. And the Republicans' tact and what Matt Gaetz bragged about on TYT's election coverage is, no, we don't want to help anybody in the worst of times. That is their policy. So all those people that say that Republicans don't have any policies to handle inflation and the economy and anything like that, no, they do. And their policy is strictly not to help you.
Yeah, and to take away the help that's already been provided, to unhelp you.
Right,
actually.
To throw to all the life rafts that are out there, they are on their yachts with BB guns shooting holes in the life rafts so they deflate.
They would have a fancy spear gun or something. They're not gonna use a BB gun. They're wealthy. Anyway, we'll see what ends up happening. They're definitely gonna appeal it. Oh, I wonder what the Supreme Court's gonna think. Anyway, but again, as we were saying before it was canceled, do it. Do it anyway. Make them sue to stop it. Make them look terrible. Make their judges look terrible. Make the Supreme Court look terrible. You can't control that if you're Joe Biden. All you can control is whether you do it in the first place. So do it. Plus, it's all salty. Well, I am sucks says, don't you live near the ocean though? Yeah, but I didn't move here for the ocean. And I do go, I swim a little bit or whatever. I just stay close enough that if I have to run away from a shark, I can do that. Anyway, just go not too far into the ocean so the sharks can't get you, and don't go too far into the mountains so the bears can't get you. Those are my life lessons.
They hunt in the shallows in the morning and the afternoon. When there's bluebird skies, you're fine.
Wait, what does that protect you from?
Anything. Anyone goes fishing knows that they're like really hungry in the morning and then they hunt at dusk because no one can see things. We go when the sky is clear. We're fine.
Okay. I like that old seaman's advice.
Could have stopped after seaman.
With that, let's talk about something else that's chaotic, not just this show. I can't wait for Saturday. Okay, can we talk about this? This is important.
After this
is serious. This is about geniuses and billionaires and businessmen. Okay, let's talk. I expected that when Elon Musk took over Twitter, it would be a train wreck. It would be chaotic and it would be a massive failure. But even I thought that it would take a little while. He is literally speed running the destruction of one of the most popular social media companies on the planet. And even he seems to think that this could end in disaster at this point. He said in a staff meeting with Twitter employees that bankruptcy isn't out of the question. So to give you an idea of how great a CEO he is, he takes over and within 9 days, they're contemplating bankruptcy. So he gathered all of his employees into an impromptu all hands meeting, always a good sign. He gave them an hour's notice. So it was an emergency impromptu all hands meeting. He said that the economic picture ahead is dire and that they need to get to at least 50% money coming in via subscription. I don't know why that would be the measure. Why not just raise the ad revenue? If money is what it's about, why is it so important that you get the subscription? I don't know. But anyway, that's just the beginning of their issues. They've lost other key executives. So let's see, we had the chiefs of info security, privacy, compliance. Their head of legal had warned their employees to call out sick and use a whistleblower service to avoid breaking the law. Do you know why the head of their legal department needed to do that? Because Elon Musk told the employees that they were going to be responsible for complying with a bunch of the issues that they're already having with the FTC. That is definitely not on individual coders. That's why you have compliance departments in these major companies, to make sure that you're complying with the law. The idea that some engineer that you're having work 90-hour work weeks and sleep under his desk is also supposed to be going through all the federal regulations to make sure that they're complying with the law is insane. Would open them up to legal jeopardy. And so their own head of legal had to tell them don't do that. And they're again on apparently the brink of bankruptcy. And that's after just a couple of weeks. We've got other chaos, but Brett, what do you think?
Guys, what I see here is a lot of Twitter employees who are refusing to rise and grind. And I think it's a huge failure of people working really, really hard for a guy that treats them like garbage. And I've studied a lot of American history, and that's what built this town. Is work really, really hard for people who treat you like garbage. I know people who work for SpaceX, and this is not over stated. At the end of the day, SpaceX has spent years and years and years trying, failing to build rockets that land, right? They don't have years and years and years to do this. Mm-hmm. That's what's so fascinating. They have to pay more in interest on the loans that they took out to get this purchase done than the company makes every year.
Yeah, not a good call.
So what you gonna do? He's gonna, and that all those loans are leveraged off of other companies he owns. So this is him doing that fancy project that's just a vanity thing in a area he knows absolutely nothing about, and he has to learn how to run a social media company. Yeah. And I hope to God he fails. I hate to say it, but I think it's so hilarious. And the thing that we take away from this is we're watching libertarians learn that you need a few rules. And he's pretending that he hasn't learned that in the last few days.
Well, I think he's trying to pretend to the advertisers that the rules will remain, but nothing about what he's actually doing is reassuring everyone. This isn't just about coming up with good ideas that he doesn't have the expertise or now the employees to accomplish. That would be bad enough. He's coming up with ideas that on their face are horrible ideas, and then he's bungling the horrible ideas. By the way, we're not gonna get into the verification thing too much, But I saw one tweet from a fake Eli Lilly account saying insulin is now free. And I can't say for sure that that's why yesterday Eli Lilly's stock dropped 30 points, but it probably isn't a coincidence because going back a week, they hadn't had those sorts of drops. You can't have this sort of situation. Advertisers are not gonna accept it. And I want to super fast point because we have another topic we have to get to.
Super fast point is it is wildly elitist the way he has behaved. And everyone thought he was a man of the people, but then he showed up and did something that anyone who's ever had a job hates, which is there's a new manager and that manager has no experience and no skill doing what they tell you they're an expert in, but you're the actual expert. And he's like, let's do this. And everybody's like, you just fired the person who did that and I don't want to do it for you.
Exactly.
And this is while they're all saying he's just a man of the people speaking like people talk.
They always think that about billionaires. Finally, I'll leave you with this, how he could actually kill it, unless he just reversed it. Twitter, he says, will eventually default to displaying tweets from Twitter Blue subscribers, while tweets from people who don't pay would be relegated to a separate page on the site and effectively buried unless viewers sought out that material. So we've heard a lot about shadow banning over the last few years. This is a fun way to do that and make you pay to be unshadow banned.
And this is right after he said, I'm tired of the two-tiered system that we had here at Twitter, where you had blue checks in charge of everything getting preferential treatment. It's like, no. You just created two classes in a way that they have even on airplanes to pay $8 to upgrade yourself to first class.
Exactly, yeah, he's made Twitter into Spirit. Anyway, with that said, we got a little bit of time. Let's jump into our last topic.
The fact that these youth voters are coming in so strong on an off year is very concerning. It looks like they've been brainwashed. This new generation is totally brainwashed because a lot of these single women who vote 37 spreads for Democrats are teaching all of our younger generation in these schools, and they're polluting their minds, and then they grow up, and then they're in their 20s, and then they vote for leftists.
Yeah, it's probably just that. It's probably just that like 15 years after their second grade teacher said that communism is great or something, they vote for Democrats. It's not anything about what the right is doing. But while Jesse Waters has totally misdiagnosed the problem, he has identified that there is a problem. Young voters are not interested in the right, and that has continued into these midterm elections. If you look at a breakdown of the demographics, the Republicans actually got a little bit more of the youth vote compared to 2018, but it's still a massive gap in advantage of the Democrats. The younger a cohort is, the more supportive of the Democrats they are. And bear in mind that the 2022 midterms had the second highest voter turnout among voters younger than 30 in the past 3 decades. The number one was 2018, the last midterm. So young voters are more fired up than they have been over the past few decades, and they are largely supportive of Democrats. So overall, I think it's 60% of the vote went to Democrats. But when you break it down a little bit more, you can see that younger black voters supported Democrats at 89%, Latino youth at 68%. And in some of the races, it was not close. Fetterman got 70% of young voters in the state. And so as a result of this, the fact that the younger voters definitely don't want the Republicans, some are now openly debating raising the age to vote. This activist Bridget Gabriel suggested raise the voting age to 21. We were promised a red wave and we got a red puddle. So some of them will argue for this, but try to claim that it's not just pragmatic. She's making the link very clear. People like Peter Schiff, a conservative radio personality, want to go to 28 and did a poll to support that. Apparently you don't have enough life experience to be worthy of democracy until that point. So it's pathetic, it's transparent. Brett, what do you think?
I love those numbers. It's like you just found out how many people you'd have to disenfranchise in order to win and who they are. No, I say we go the other way. Let's lower the voting age to the age of consent in your state. Let's do that because you think that they're old enough to make that kind of decision, which you say is the most sacred decision you can make, especially if you're pro-life. Let's make the voting age the age of consent in that state. So I say like you giving them a lot of faith.
Yeah,
Let them have it.
Hey, I mean, wouldn't it be cool? Like, think about it. Like, Matt Gaetz could finally bring his dates to the polling place. Yeah. They'd be legally allowed to do that. That'd be nice. Anyway, it's ridiculous. It's transparent. And this is, by the way, not how you get those young people to support your party. That's unfortunately all the time we have for the first hour of the show, but the garbage must be thrown away. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Adarola. I'll see you soon.